Frankly speaking, S. Craig Zahler's directorial debut isn't a full-blooded horror flick, but then again, it is effectively unsettling than most ones. It's a movie that doesn't hold back, so yes, it's unquestionably not for the squeamish. Hell, it'll even put the entire Saw film franchise to shame. Zahler, as the mastermind behind Bone Tomahawk, has reintroduced the Western genre to the audience, blending it exceedingly well with just the right amount of nail-biting horror elements. And it's only fair to say that his oeuvre is bound to keep one on the edge of their seat. We think it's time to appreciate this film as a cult classic, and believe us when we say that this underrated gem here certainly deserves a much larger audience. Well, this brings us to the main contents of today's video, where we'll not just explore the movie, but also delve deeper into the flick's high points, the cannibalistic troglodyte clan. Oh, we are super stoked about this video, so let's get started. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, let's begin. Bones, tomahawks, and a tribe of troglodytes. The movie explored. We are in the 19th century. The opening scene has two brigands, Buddy and Purvis, busy doing what they're best at, when Purvis gets alerted by the sound of an approaching horse. The duo decides to hide in the hills, and on their way, Purvis gets spooked upon hearing a musical gust that he calls ominous. Buddy, on the other hand, dismisses him and tells him that it isn't time for womanly imaginings. Soon, they arrive at a place that looks like a Native American burial site, and Buddy tells Purvis that he will be going straight through the burial ground and deeper into the hills. Purvis hesitates, but Buddy is adamant about going ahead. With the duo hearing another musical gust followed by a heavy thumping noise, Buddy takes out a gun and fires twice. This has him attacked by an unseen assailant who savagely kills him, and as for a horrified Purvis, he manages to flee from there. 11 days after Buddy's death, Purvis is finally seen arriving in the town of Bright Hope, where we are introduced to foreman Arthur O'Dwyer and his wife Samantha. Arthur has recently had a bit of an accident, injuring his leg in the process, and add to this a minimum of 12 weeks rest. Judging him by his looks, he's clearly unhappy about it. Coming back to Purvis, he is observed burying his stuff by the town's elderly backup deputy, Chicory, who is out on a night ramble. The suspicious activity of Purvis makes Chicory report him to Sheriff Franklin Hunt, and the latter decides to pay him a visit. Purvis deliberately hides his identity from Hunt and tells him his name is Buddy. Post a shower of questions, Purvis attempts to escape, only to have Hunt shoot him in his leg. The sheriff is next seen sending John Bruder, a witness to the shooting, to go and get the town's doctor. Bruder is unable to fetch the drunken doctor, and instead has Samantha, who also happens to be the doctor's daughter and assistant, brought to the sheriff's office post filling her in with the details of the shootout, and to have her mainly extract the bullet out of Purvis. Before Hunt calls it a night, leaving Samantha with a shackled Purvis and one of his deputies, Nick, to help her with whatever she needs for the surgery and drop her back home. She tells the sheriff to let her husband know not to wait up for her. Later that very night, Buford, the stable boy, gets brutally murdered, and while we don't get a proper look at the attackers, it becomes pretty clear from the modus operandi that he's killed by the same ones who had slaughtered Buddy at the beginning of the movie. After the news of the murder is reported to the sheriff, Hunt arrives at the scene and begins investigating the murder. He is shocked to find the mutilated corpse of the stable boy, even surprised to find none of the horses there, and more to discover the jail empty. Upon noticing an arrow left behind, he asks Chicory to fetch him the Native American professor and make him take a look at the arrow. Hunt is next seen informing Arthur of his wife's abduction, and the latter is seen limping his way to the saloon along with Hunt to learn more about the kidnapping. It doesn't take the Native American much time to link the arrow with the tribe, and in his words, there's only one group that hunts these. They don't have a name, they are a tribe that doesn't have a language. He calls them cave dwellers, and upon being asked about their dwelling place, he tells him that he has a general idea, but refuses to take Hunt to them as he doesn't have the slightest intention of getting killed. Of course, this astonishes the rest of the people, and they ask him why he's afraid of his own kind, to which the professor tells him that they aren't his kind. further disclosing to them that troglodytes are a spoiled bloodline of inbred cannibals who rape and eat their own mothers. They usually look like Indians despite the fact that they are something else entirely. The professor asks for a map of the Western Range and shows the group the forbidden territory of the mountain range. And somewhere in the northwestern part of it is where the troglodytes reside, a place that he addresses as the Valley of the Starving Men. With Hunt geared up with Arthur to rescue the abducted Samantha and his deputy Nick, Chicory and the gunslinging Brooder also insist on going along with the duo. The quartet begins their journey towards the hostile territory, taking as much precautions as possible. In the middle of their journey, Hunt takes away a bottle of opium tincture from Arthur to stop him from overusing it. Eventually, with days and nights into their ride, the group encounters two Mexican strangers finding their way to their camp. And even with the duo introducing and arming themselves in the process, Brooder shoots them thinking that they are scouts from raiding parties or thieves. While this gets both Hunt and Brooder into an argument, the group ends up setting up a cold camp somewhere else. The same night, the group is ambushed by raiders who take away all their horses and leave Brooder's horse in a very bad shape. Brooder is left with no choice but to put her down. Post an entire day of incessant walking, a sly innuendo from Brooder regarding Samantha has Arthur hitting him in a fit of rage. This leads Arthur losing his balance in the process and aggravating his wounded leg further. Chicory examines Arthur, sets his leg, and leaves him there, giving him some time to recover. The rest of the group carry on with the journey, leaving behind stones and marking a path for Arthur to follow later, and also promising to find and keep Samantha safe. Upon reaching closer to the valley, the trio hears the same musical gust that Purvis and Buddy had heard earlier. Brooder recalls the sound, stating that he's pretty sure of hearing it back in Bright Hope on the night of the kidnapping. The trio concludes that they have been spotted and decides to arm themselves. As they venture deeper towards the valley, Chicory asks Brooder how many Indians he's killed so far, to which he says not enough. Brooder discloses to the duo that some of the Indians are women who are well-versed in using a bow and spear, with Chicory further pressing Brooder about his hatreds towards them. He learns about the death of Brooder's mother and sister, who died at their hands. No wonder it made a considerable impression on Brooder when he was just 10 years old. At the valley, the men are attacked by the troglodytes with an unsuspecting cascade of stones and arrows. While the trio is able to kill 2 of the attackers, Brooder gets fatally injured in the process. He insists on sacrificing himself rather than living his life as a disabled person. Fair to say he's able to kill one of them before being killed himself. As for Hunt and Chicory, they eventually get captured by the troglodytes and are taken as prisoners inside their cave, where they get reunited with Samantha, who was also seen locked up in a makeshift cage-like structure. Samantha tells them Nick isn't doing too well and that the troglodytes have even eaten Purvis. We finally get a good look at Wolf Skull, the leader of the tribal cannibals. His appearance is similar to the others. He has gray skin, he is seen wearing white-colored arm wrists, and to add to this, a very short underwear. What differentiates him from the rest is his wolf skull that's placed over his head. Coming back to the storyline, he makes this haunting scream, which basically means that it's mealtime. He has 2 other members drag Nick out of the cage and strip him completely. Hunt tries to get out of the cage to rescue Nick, but that leads him to getting 2 of his fingers partially chopped off by the cannibals. Before Nick meets his gruesome death, he discloses to the sheriff that Purvis was a drifter that killed a lot of people, butchered them in their sleep, robbed them, and desecrated the burial grounds of the cannibals. What follows next is a dreadful sight. Nick is brutally scalped, cleaved crotch first, and then ripped in half while being alive. His mutilated remains are next devoured by the cannibals right before the remaining group. Samantha is seen asking Hunt about her husband, and while she's relieved to hear that Arthur is alive, she's furious to learn that Hunt has left a trail for him to follow, with Hunt and Chicory telling her that they have already killed 3 of them. Samantha tells them that there are at least 12 males and 2 pregnant females who are blind cripples. Hunt, upon realizing that he still has some tincture of opium that he had earlier taken away from Arthur, concocts a plan asking Chicory for his whiskey flask. The plan is pretty simple, to lure the troglodytes into drinking it and poisoning them in turn. Coming back to Arthur, he regains consciousness and starts following the trail that Hunt had left behind for him. In due course, he reaches the valley and successfully kills 2 of the tribal cannibals. With Arthur inspecting their bodies, he discovers an object that he initially thinks is a piece of jewelry embedded in their windpipes. He cuts it out using a knife and keeps it inside his pockets, only to realize later that the object resembles a whistle. When he blows on it, the sound draws in another cannibal near him, who he is able to kill effortlessly. Back inside the cave, Hunt is successful in making at least 3 of the cannibals drink the opium tincture. However, with one of the cannibals consuming a deadly dose and another one getting knocked out, Wolfskull realizes that his men have been poisoned. He takes Hunt out of his cage, tears his shirt to cut open his abdomen, and shoves inside the heated whiskey flask. Hunt tries to take it out but is unable to do so as Wolfskull is seen placing his foot on Hunt to hold him down. Wolfskull is able to shoot at Hunt's arm but is unable to reload Hunt's rifle. Call it beginner's luck that Wolfskull is accidentally able to reload the gun and shoot Hunt into the stomach. However, Hunt is not the one to surrender, and he's seen grabbing a bone tomahawk lying near him and chopping off Wolfskull's feet partially. We finally see Arthur arriving there, but Hunt decides to take care of Wolfskull all by himself. He gets himself up and decapitates Wolfskull by striking him with the bone tomahawk a couple of times. Arthur quickly frees Samantha and Chicory. As for a fatally injured Hunt, he tells them that he will stay behind and finish off the males, as they already know their way to Bright Hope. While he tells Arthur to go out the same way he came in and not to dawdle, he tells Chicory to say goodbye to his wife for him. With the trio making their way out of the caves, they find the 2 pregnant troglodyte females, who not only have stakes driven into their eyes to blind them, but also have their limbs amputated. Arthur suggests to keep it moving. The trio is already far away from the cave when Arthur blows the whistle, and the faint sound of 3 gunshots is heard later. While it's not shown directly, it implies that Hunt has killed the remaining males. The movie ends with Arthur, Samantha, and Chicory as the 3 survivors on their way back home. What exactly were the cannibals in Bone Tomahawk? Are they real? Do you remember the time when Zoller had said that he wanted the majority of his movie's mysticism to remain both ambiguous and debatable at the same time? Well, guess he wasn't kidding after all. The point of this movie undoubtedly happens to be the troglodytes, but those who have seen this film will agree with us when we tell you that Zoller, throughout the flick, never really did focus the camera on the troglodytes. We always saw them from a calculated distance, and we think the sole reason for doing such a thing is that the filmmaker obviously wanted to keep their culture more mysterious. Naturally, this paved for a multitude of theories around them, and we'll be citing the most interesting ones out of them. Some believe that the tribe depicted in the movie are the real ancestors of the post-apocalyptic cannibals of The Hills Have Eyes, and similar backwoods cannibals flicks. Now that somebody has said this, you know we can't dismiss it so easily. One of the primary setups horror producers absolutely love is having a cluster of cannibals dwelling somewhere in the civilized but unexplored world, and not have anyone notice them until things go downhill. Like it or not, it is similar in the case of Bone Tomahawk, a movie that's set in the 19th century in the American Southwest. The cannibals on display are noted to be so savage that they have been shunned and avoided by other native tribes. The movie has them addressed as cave dwellers dwelling in the Valley of Starving Men, and judging by the name, it surely looks like they may have arisen from a period of famine, one that led the clan resort no other way but cannibalism in order to survive. Now comes the part where the learned Native American gets repulsed even by the idea of being associated by them. He is seen strictly denying that they are not of his kind and that they are nothing but a group of inbred cannibals who rape and eat their own mothers. This actually throws light on the clan's bestial culture, the habit of continuing their bloodline by raping their wives and not even sparing their own mothers. Of course, this grisly act has not been directly featured in the movie, but the ending scene did exhibit 2 pregnant women, blinded and with their limbs amputated, proving things indirectly. When you look at the clan's choice of weapons, it's bound to give you early Stone Age vibes. The clan's not huge either, and the only advantage that these cannibals have is their superior stealth, which is clearly evident in the movie. Marvelous verdict. What say we appreciate the greatness of the movie and let the antagonist on display remain a mystery? Well, that's it for today, and we've finally come to the end of our video here. So what did you think of Bone Tomahawk? What is it that you fancy the most about the hidden gems here? What is your take on Cannibal Troglodytes? Would you be surprised to know that it took 21 days to shoot the movie? We would love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, then please do leave a thumbs up. Also, stay tuned as we promise to come back with more exciting content. Till then, goodbye and thanks for watching. Have a good one.